start our meeting. I'd like to introduce you to the members of the Planning Commission, and we're missing a few tonight. We hopefully will have some more come in when before we get to the public hearings, but I'm going to start right down on the end, and would you tell us your name, and then we'll just go all the way down.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Nelson.
Vince Dickens.
Janet Watson.
Gary Whitley.
Peggy Richard.
Kyle Collins.
Jeffrey Rice, Lieutenant, Huntsville Police Department.
Jim McGuffey, City Planning.
And back behind the podium, we have Claudia Anderson with the City Legal Department. She'll make sure that we do everything right. And we have the members of the Planning Department that I'll be calling on from time to time to give us information and to help us go through the meeting. As we proceed through the public hearing, if there's an item that you're particularly interested in and you want to talk about it, go to one of the microphones on each side of the room and give us your name and address and tell us what your feelings are about the item that's on the agenda. And if there's more than one person to speak, and we don't have a big crowd tonight, so I don't think that you'll be inclined to repeat your neighbor's ideas, but we do listen very carefully to everything that is said in this chamber, and so if your neighbor's already said, this is going to have a negative effect on my neighborhood, and this is why, we heard what he said. So it's not necessary to repeat it, and in the interest of keeping the meeting as short as possible, we ask that you not repeat what someone else has said. And all that being said, I will ask if everyone has had a chance to read the minutes of last month's meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any changes or corrections? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Our first item under public hearings is Cambridge Subdivision Phase 2 is withdrawn. If you came here tonight thinking that was going to be heard, we'd certainly hear your comments now if you're here to speak about Cambridge. Hearing no comment, I'm going to close that item for now. That may come back up next month, so we'll leave it. We'll have public hearing again if it does come back up next month. The next item is Cross Creek Phase 5. Is there anyone here to speak regarding Cross Creek Phase 5? Hearing no comment, the public hearing is closed. Item 3 is Fanning Commercial, re-subdivision of Lot 2. Again, that's been withdrawn. Is there anyone here who came specifically to speak with regard to Fanning Commercial? Okay, hearing no comment, that public hearing is closed. Item 4, Hampton Ridge, Phase 6. Is there anyone here regarding Hampton Ridge Phase 6? Yes, sir. Would you go to the microphone? Oh, okay. I'll go back.
My name is Don Fellows, live on 7051 Paledon Place. Just a couple questions. As far as construction traffic, as far as going through Hampton Ridge subdivision and getting into the backside or the Hampton Ridge 6. You got lots of kids on the corners, lots of families, be lots of traffic building that subdivision of houses and everything. And I was wondering, why can't we use the entrance on OB Cove Road that they use to clear the lot while they're building this subdivision? And as far as future expansions go, it looks like there's some roads that go off into the northeast as far as another subdivision going to go in there. And the number of people, there was 35 houses, as far as our clubhouse and pool, overcrowding that small item. And that's all I have.
Oh, Yes, sir. As far as I know, and I will ask our legal advisor, the public streets are open to the construction traffic. Is that correct?
The engineering department can correct me if I'm wrong, but they may have construction roads that they would designate or utilize and that would govern the activity on those roads. But it is a public road, but the engineering department may want to weigh in, or I guess Billy may want to weigh in on the
Yes, sir.
construction.
Yes, sir. Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, we know you up here, but.
Billy Smith, Smith
Okay.
Engineering,
Okay.
9684 Memorial Parkway.
Thank you.
Have trouble remembering it. Sorry. That's an excellent question about the construction traffic. And I don't have a absolute answer on it right now, but I will suggest to my clients, Mongol Homes is formerly Pearson Homes, Collins Pearson, that you probably know. That company has been bought out by Mongol Homes. It's a large development company out of South Carolina, and this is the first edition of what we hope will be several editions on the Drake property next door to Hampton Ridge, and I think I will make a suggestion to Mongol Homes that and possibly to contact Mr. Drake and see if they have any problem of bringing at least a portion or most of the traffic that they can bring through the Drake property. There is a crossover on the ditch. That's a possibility, and so I'll make an attempt to see if we can keep down to a minimum the construction traffic in the subdivision. I can't say that it would actually prevent it all, but I think that would be one good option that we could pursue.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. And as far as your other question about the use of the pool, we don't. This committee doesn't have anything to do with that. But you could discuss that with Mr. Smith or with the developer. Is there anyone else to speak regarding Hampton Ridge Phase 6? Yes, sir.
Hi, Lewis Johnson, 7047 Pale Dawn Place. I had one, I guess, follow-on point I would make about the traffic. Ridgepoint Road, which is proposed to be the main entrance into that subdivision, I would ask, I guess, the city engineers to look at that. It's a very narrow road. It's barely passable for two cars to go side by side. So I'm concerned that is what's being proposed right now to be the main entrance as well as the construction entrance. So I appreciate the interest that Mr. Drake will have in the situation, but I would say, again, I think we need to look at the neighborhood of that. There are not roads nearby that empty out into the main street. Mm-hmm. And again, the narrowness of that road concerns me as well, especially with construction equipment. It's going to, for larger cement mixers and things, it's going to be one vehicle in and out. Mm-hmm. So I think that's going to be problematic over time. The other question that I had is really drainage off Little Mountain. I would speak, I think, for several of my neighbors here that, that did not get it right in our neighborhood, that we've invested a lot into retaining walls and drainage. And so I have a lot of concern about the drainage off Little Mountain once we remove trees. I know there are 3 creek beds that they're planning to be filled in. And I certainly have video of the amount of water that flows through there right now. So I'm just very concerned that, where is that water going ultimately? Because we're already seeing a lot of flooding that we haven't seen in the past on Old Big Cove Road. And then obviously as the neighbors in Phase 5 to Phase 6, I certainly have a lot of concerns about, what that water is going to do, as it comes in potentially into our neighborhood as well.
Okay. Okay. Do we have someone here from traffic engineering tonight? Michael, there's no one here from traffic engineering? Then I will ask Mr. Smith to once more step up and tell us about the width of that road. Is that a standard width road?
Are you talking about
Bill?
Old Big Cove Road, or are you talking about the subdivision road?
It's the entrance into the subdivision from Old Big Cove Road, as I understand it.
Well, that's a future road. That's not in this edition, proposed in this first edition.
Oh, okay. That's
That will
in-
be in probably the second edition.
Okay.
It's on the overall master layout. You know, we really hadn't got to the details
Yeah,
of that
okay.
design. I might add this, though, and I'm saying this without having even discussed this with my client or anything, but I would expect probably that will be the main entrance to that area, and probably there will be a wider road at that location, probably with a medium in it, and, you know, because they'll want to heavily landscape it and from a marketing standpoint. And so you'll probably see a different type of road than the standard 30-foot standard road, but it's, that is on the future edition.
Okay, so,
No, that's just standard right there.
so we're not considering the road that was in question tonight. That will come up at a future
Yeah, the main
submission.
entrance off of, there will be a future entrance off of Old Big Cove Road. We're tying into an existing Bridgepoint Road, which is a 30-foot wide curb gutter to curb gutter road in there, and that's a standard size city street.
Okay. Okay. And then I'm not going to ask you, probably not going to ask you to address the drainage issues here, but I will ask if, after we've completed this public hearing, if there are other questions about the drainage issues, if you would take them out into the lobby.
I've already
and-
met with the group, and
Okay.
I'd be more than happy to, if there's further
Okay.
discussion, more than.
Okay, because I think we have some other people who have some questions on that. So
Certainly.
I'm not letting you off the hook right now,
Well, thank you.
but I may later. Okay. Thank you, Billy. Is there anyone else here with regard to Hampton Ridge Phase 6? Did I see someone else? Yes, ma'am, Ms. Reed. Okay. And you know the drill.
I'm Jackie Reed. I live in everybody's neighborhood throughout this city. Trust me. What I hear here is a concern to me. I don't know what you're here for tonight, the new development. Is that true?
Yes.
Well, okay. Then before you pass new development, this needs to be studied about the drainage and the roads, and the developer needs to present the plans as to how it's going to be going into those roads. We need complete planning for these people that live around it to see what's going on before you just throw it out here and vote on it. You say, well, that's not what we're taking up tonight. When you throw that out here to a developer, you're through with him. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. And I will say that we are addressing a certain part of that neighborhood that has been submitted by the developer. We can't consider anything that has not been submitted already to the planning department, and this particular part of it has gone through the engineering department of the city, and they've addressed all the issues with regard to that. When it comes time to consider the other parts of the subdivision, then we'll be looking more specifically at those issues too, and everyone will get a notice on that and be able to come back and make a statement at that time, and have that considered. Yes, sir.
My name's R.J. Salahub. I'm at 7037 Pale Dawn Place. I kind of echo the concerns, and I've talked with Mr. Smith about the drainage as well. I had suggested to him that, particularly at the outlet into Jacks Creek, that there may need to be some look at the erosion and possible scouring on the far side of the bed or on far side of the bank, which would have an impact on not only our side of the development but the other side as well. And I'm not the other question I've got is I'm not sure if this is a part of the zoning or part of this planning commission. Is the intent for this part of the development to be comparable with the existing development in terms of the size, quality, size of the lots, and the homes as well?
I believe this is zoned R1A. which would be, as far as I know, the same zoning as in the existing development.
Okay. All right.
All right, very good. And, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here to speak with regard to the Hampton Ridge Phase 6? I'm going to suggest that this public hearing is going to continue on several other items, and if those of you who are concerned about Hampton Ridge Phase 6 would like to meet with Mr. Smith, your next item, Mr. Smith, is it at, what number is it? You have, do you have the Meadows? Iredell. He won't be able to, okay. He will need to stay in here for these next items, but if you would make some time for them at a point that you could go out and explain the drainage plans to them, I would appreciate it. And at that point, he'll let you know, and you can go out into the entry area. And I would like, is there any further comment on Hampton Ridge Phase 6? Hearing no comment, further comment, the public hearing is closed. And I'd like to go back to the previous item, Fanning Commercial Re-subdivision of Lot 2. That was withdrawn, and I mistakenly closed that hearing. It cannot be closed when it's has been withdrawn, because it may come back up on next month's agenda, and so that item 3, Fanning Commercial Re-subdivision of Lot 2, will remain open. Item 5, Heritage Estates Phase 2. Is there someone here to speak with regard to Heritage Estates Phase 2? Yes, ma'am. Would you go to the podium?
Good evening. Shanae Lewis, 16285 Durford Drive. One of the questions that I had, we got here right at 5, so I wasn't sure if the layout drawings were still available to be reviewed. That's my first question. Next, I was wanting to understand the timeline for this particular phase, and my other questions kind of go into that, to also understand how the road will be built out and the impacts, because where we live, obviously Durford Drive will have to be built out in order to connect over to Heritage Commons, and that's our only entryway to our driveway because it's a side entry.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to understand the timeline of that and the impacts to us getting in and out of our driveway, as well as the tie-in of utilities and whether or not they'll encroach on private property.
Okay. Is the engineer here for Heritage Estates Phase 2? Yes, sir.
Chuck Faulkner with Goodwin Mills and Kaywood.
Can you answer her questions about timing and?
I can, to the best of my ability. My client is not here, and obviously that's his purview. But I'd be glad to discuss it with
Okay,
her.
I tell you what, if you will just let me see if there's anyone else who has comments, and then I'm probably going to ask you to go in, because your questions are specific to the plat and to the development, that the engineer will have some answers to those, even if he doesn't have the timing answers. But I want to see what the other questions are first. So if you'll wait just a minute, then we'll ask that be done. Do you have anything else on tonight's agenda? Do you know what number? $12. Okay. Okay. All right. Yes, ma'am. Would you?
Good evening. My name is Shonda Malone, and I'm at 3006 Copper Run Drive. And my issue deals with drainage due to my home flooded because of drainage issues. And every time that it rains heavily, I suffer with this. I'm scared that I have to start carrying my stuff upstairs because I've been flooded before, and every time it's consistent rain, it gets very high, and I'm right next to it. If you step from me to the lady in the turquoise sweater, I'm right next to a culvert. And so I spoke to Michael Webb, I don't know who that is, about it, and he told me to bring pictures, and I did.
Yes.
And I'm tired of it. Every time it's rain, I don't feel safe in my own home. And then as a result, I got homeowners insurance, but they told me that if no one else home floods, then I won't be covered. So I'm like, well, what am I paying flood insurance for? But that's what State Farm told me, because it's time for me to renew this year. But I want to know what's going to be done when all of the new development is being built. Where is this water going to flow? Because I'm tired of it raging next to my home.
Okay. I understand, and I will say that we're not dealing with any issues about the existing subdivision tonight, but the engineer may have some answers for you as far as what they're doing to collect water from the piece that's being developed and to take that away from the property. So I'm going to ask you to sit with the other lady, and then I'm going to see if there's anyone else here. Is there anyone else here to address Heritage Estates Phase 2? Oh, okay, I'm going to hold that public hearing open and ask y'all to go with the engineer and to briefly consult with him, and I think he can give you some answers to some of the questions you ask. If you'll go out into the entry area and get with him. And he does have to be back in here for another item, so I'm going to ask that you keep it as brief as possible. And we'll hold that hearing open for now. The next item is IREDELL Subdivision Phase 2, a re-subdivision of Tract 1 of IREDELL Subdivision Phase 1. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Sherry Rehuser. I'm 117 Ridge Run Court. On the drawing, you'll see me as Lot 22. We've been here about 3 times looking at drainage issues. The developer's been kind enough to take out 4 houses and increase the size of our runoff ponds, trying to handle some of the water issues. I am the lowest house in my subdivision that backs up to IREDELL. There is an 8-foot drop from the foundation of the houses that are being built behind me, 8 foot down to my property line. Right now, there's 5 houses that line up behind this subdivision. As you come down, there is a creek bed in a subdivision that's not even related to these 2. The creek bed dumps in to the first house, already comes down our property line at the fence. Creek runs all the way down by my house, down 2 more houses. So that's 5 houses of water that's already coming back through here. I've looked at the drawings for how they plan on handling the drainage. Part of it's above ground, part of it's underground. They're going to berm part of it to get it to the back property line. I will have 2 areas of water running through. One's on my property, one will not be on my property. My concern, and I said this is just for public record, because I've already talked with the engineer, I've talked with the developer. The way the drawing looks, there's a 4-way drain 7 feet off the corner of the lowest part of my property. If it handles all their water, I don't see a berm drawn on their drawing that looks like they've bermed between the 2 of us. When it comes down through, if they don't berm it, some of their water may come on my property. But if they don't berm it, the water that's already coming down my property will eat the backside of their berm. So they're going to try to address this. When it comes down to the 5th property, he also has a runoff pond. The way they're going to build the new runoff pond cuts off his drainage. We're going to be South Ridge Pool as far as our backyards. Like I said, the engineers are looking at it. They're going to work on it. It just, the way the berm is laid out currently, it doesn't look like it's going to take care of the water. And it also looks like it has a secondary problem that the water that comes down through here could possibly eat away at the berm. And the drainage on the last lot closest to their drainage area, that lot's supposed to be able to drain off. Their drainage looks like 4 properties. They put a drainage pond that's 4 properties wide. If they cut off the last guy's property, he will also go underwater. So just like I said, I want to make it part of public record that they're going to try to adjust what I'm seeing on the drawings. And I've told them, I've enjoyed the trees at my property line, but they're not mine. If they need to take those trees to do a good job of the berm and make sure all the water stays where it's supposed to, I'm okay with that. I can't have any more water. So I said, it's just to make this part of the public record.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have someone here from city engineering tonight? Oh, he is outside meeting with them. Is there anyone else here to speak with regard to IREDELL? Pardon? Okay, same problem. And would you just step up to the podium and give us your name and address for the record and just say same problem?
Mike Kidd, 109 Southway Court, Madison. Same comment as was just made about the water and the water runoff.
Okay, thanks. And I appreciate your being brief about that. But I did hear what you said, and I did want to get it on the record because it wasn't going from there. Is there anyone else here to speak with regard to IREDELL subdivision phase 2? I'm going to hold that public hearing open until the engineer comes back in here. Mike, would you let me know when he comes back in? Because I'd like to get some clarification on that. Our next item is Meadows at Hampton Cove, Phase 1, a re-subdivision of lots 78 through 83. Is there anyone here to speak regarding Meadows at Hampton Cove? Hearing no comment, the public hearing is closed. And our next item is McMULLEN Cove, BRAEWICK, Phase 3, and Sanders Hill, withdrawn. Michael, is that Billy Smith's? Would you get somebody, pardon?
Number 9, Silo Hill.
Yeah, Silo Hill. Well, McMULLEN Cove, BRAEWICK Phase 3 is withdrawn, so it's probably fine to go ahead. But if you just let him know we're about ready for the next item. McMULLEN Cove, BRAEWICK Phase 3, and Sanders Hill has been withdrawn. Is there anyone here to speak regarding McMULLEN Cove, BRAEWICK Phase 3, and Sanders Hill? Okay, that's a withdrawn item, so we're going to hold the public hearing open on that, and we're going to wait just a moment for Mr. Smith to come back in before we start doing the public hearing on the next items that he's done the engineering on. Okay, oh, are you here? Okay, all right, okay, great, thank you. I just couldn't see you back there. Okay, McMULLEN Cove, Silo Hill, Phase 1. Is there anyone here to speak regarding McMULLEN Cove, Silo Hill? Hearing no comment, the public hearing is closed. McMULLEN Cove, Watson Grand Preserve, Phase 1. Is there anyone here to speak regarding McMULLEN Cove Grand Preserve Phase 1? Yes, sir.
Scott Emmons, 288 Staggs View Drive. I have 78 acres on the bottom of the mountain that backs up to Watson's Reserve. And I'm curious about the drainage issues and what will become. I haven't talked to an engineer or anything.
Okay. We're you know, we can't answer those engineering questions up here, but we will address that before this public hearing is closed with the engineer. Is there anyone else here to speak regarding McMULLEN Cove, Watson Grand Preserve, Phase 1? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Shelley Wright, 116 Parton Drive. My property adjoins the entrance to Phase 1. I have 12 acres. I have 6 acres now. Part of it is taken eminent domain. I have the same concerns about how the water is going to flow over my property since it completely surrounds me, and I have concerns about that.
Okay. Again, I will ask Mr. Smith to address those with you as we proceed. Is there anyone else here to address McMULLEN Cove, Watson Grand Preserve, Phase 1? Yes.
Mike Dalen, 387 Ripple Lane. I live down below the Phase 1. I'm interested in the road and how it's been changed around up there. I noticed it appears there's just one road going in and out now. There was, I think, a fire road in an earlier version. Is that correct? There's just one road in and out? And how's that? I mean, I thought there was supposed to be turnarounds and that sort of thing, and intersections between at certain distances.
Yes, Mr. Enfinger.
My name is Jeff Enfinger. I'm the developer of that development. Periodically, but no more than every 2,200 feet, we're doing a cul-de-sac that allows for that turnaround. And about half of the road wasn't on the ridge, and half the road was on the ridge in this initial layout. And all that we've done is nearly all of the road now that's in Phase 1 and Phase 2 that's now on the side of the mountain is on the ridge, and that's the only change. We moved it, maybe 100, 150 feet south, some of it south about 100, 150 feet.
But there's really one road to get in and out, actually, and it goes, I think, all the way to Phase 2 as well. But other than those little turnarounds, there's no other way to get up on that mountain, really, than the one road coming up. And
there never was more than one.
All right. Second question, how many original lots were in Phase 1?
59, I think.
59 lots, and originally there's the same number now?
Well, you're actually asking about, I think, Phase 1 and Phase 2, there's 106. In Phase 1 and 2 together.
Okay, and how many were there in the original plan when it was originally presented to the?
59.
Say, 59?
59. Mm-hmm.
And so there's twice as what I can't hear very well from over there, but
Not
about
quite,
twice as many lots, and they're 125 feet at the street?
Yeah, but that's, of course, large lots. Mm-hmm.
All right, so, okay, so you've doubled the number of lots, and anyway, I just wanted to make sure that I was clear on that. And
yeah, this is a, depending on how you want to count, a 500 or 600 acre mountain. And so our yield is, normally what the Plan Commission is looking at is somewhere between 2 and 3, 2 and 5 to the acre. Apartments are 10 to the acre. And what we're proposing tonight is 0.2 to the acre.
I'm just trying to get some clarification. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah. I'm going to, at this point, interrupt myself and say that I am going to recuse on these two items, McMULLEN Cove, Watson Grand Preserve Phase 1, and McMULLEN Cove, Watson Grand Preserve Phase 2. And so I'm going to ask Gary to if he would complete the rest of the public hearing on those two items.
Yes, ma'am. Is there anyone else here to speak on McMULLEN Cove, Watson Grand Preserve Phase 1? Okay. Oh, yes, sir.
Billy's not here. I'll take.
He's behind you.
Would you like me to address the drainage issue? Yeah. As Mr. Enfinger mentioned, the road, once you get to the top, is falling right at the ridge of the road, and that makes a real nice situation for drainage in terms of we just simply because we're getting very little water that falls within the street itself. We've done a very comprehensive study of that whole area, that mountainous region, on both sides of the mountain, the impact of that drainage on it. And I without quoting acreages, Mr. Enfinger can give you the acreages better than I can, but basically with the amount of houses we're building there and the amount of impervious space we're putting, which would be the entrance road with some cul-de-sacs in it also, and the houses themselves and driveways and sidewalks and that sort of thing, the amount of new impervious space we're adding to that drainage basin is negligible compared with the total size of the basin itself. So when you start putting drainage figures and calculations using, the formulas that we have available, you really find out, and it's pretty obvious before you do it, but we've actually been through those calculations, and basically you really have no impact on increasing runoff on either Ripple Lane side or the McMullen side, either one. The next question, are we pulling water off of those roads and concentrating it into areas that might go onto an adjacent property and create erosion problems, scouring and this sort of thing that would cause damage? And basically, again, with the sheer distances from the property that we have, the open space that we have in there, all this water is being directed to existing swells and ditches, or ditches sort of wrong word, but concentrations of water coming off the mountain. So that, and you put there again, you try to put figures to it, and there's just really just no impact whatsoever on it. Otherwise, so it shouldn't change anybody on the Ripple side or all the McMullen side, either one. So it's very, very little impact it has on the downstream. But
Thank you.
And I'd be more than happy to meet with anybody individually on this too.
Okay. Sir, do you have a question, or would you like to meet with Mr. Smith?
If I can meet with him,
Okay,
that's fine.
Mr. Smith, if you will. Anyone else here to speak on Phase 1 of McMULLEN Cove Watson Grand Preserve? I will consider the public hearing closed. Next item is McMULLEN Cove Watson Grand Preserve Phase 2. Is there anyone here to speak on Phase 2 of the McMULLEN Cove Watson Grand Preserve? Okay, seeing none, I will consider the public hearing closed. I will relinquish the chair back to you, madam.
Thank you very much. Item 12 is Midtown on the Park Phase 4. Is there anyone here to speak regarding Midtown on the Park Phase 4? Hearing no comment, public hearing's closed. Item 13, Strong Commercial Center Phase 3, a minor. Is there anyone here to speak with regard to Strong Commercial Center Phase 3, a minor? Hearing no comment, public hearing is closed. Item 4, Southgate Subdivision Phase 2. has been withdrawn. Is there anyone who came here to speak regarding Southgate subdivision phase 2? We can hear your comment tonight. Hearing no comment, the public hearing is closed. I think I have, pardon, I'm sorry. The public hearing remains open because it has been withdrawn, and it will remain open until next month. I think I have 2 items that I left open that had not been withdrawn, and that was Heritage Estates Phase 2. Are the people who spoke regarding Heritage Estates Phase 2 still in here? Are they outside? Could you tell them, would you let them know that the public hearing is about to be reopened on that? Hopefully we'll resume shortly. I'm waiting for the commenters to come back in on Hampton Ridge Phase 6. It's Hampton Ridge Phase 6. Okay. Is that everyone who was here on Hampton Ridge Phase 6? I'm sorry, Heritage Estates. I'm sorry, Heritage Estates Phase 2. Heritage Estates Phase 2, is that what? Yes, ma'am. Would you tell us, did you get the answers to your questions? Okay, okay, very good. Is there anyone else regarding Heritage Phase 2? Okay, public hearing, hearing no further comment, the public hearing is closed. The other item that we have open is IREDELL subdivision. And you had a comment on that. Did you get your questions answered? Okay, okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Is there any further comment on IREDELL subdivision phase 2? Hearing none, the public hearing is closed. Our next item is the petition to remove plat restrictions on Parker Ridge Estates. Is there anyone here to address the removal of plat restriction on Parker Ridge Estates? Hearing no comment, the public hearing is closed. Item B is McMULLEN Cove Phase 4. That one has been withdrawn. Removal of plat restrictions for McMULLEN Cove Phase 4 has been withdrawn. but we will have an opportunity for public hearing if there's anyone here to address that item. Hearing no comment, I will leave that item open until a future date. Item 16 is zoning. Lisa Leto, would you provide us the information on zoning?
Yes, the first item is located on the west side of Old Big Cove Road and north of Bird Drive. It's the hatched area that you see here. The proposed zoning is Residence 1B District, which is consistent with the other properties along the west side of Old Big Cove Road. It's 1.91 acres, and it's a single-family home. It's the area you see here outlined in red.
Is there anyone here to speak regarding the PINSON annexation zoning? Hearing no comment, the public hearing is closed. Thank you. Next item.
Okay, the next item is located on the south side of Naughty Walls Road and west of Old Big Cove Road. It's the hatched area that you see here.
This is the law annexation zoning.
Yeah, ignore the titles on there.
Okay. Okay.
Oops, I think I clicked the wrong thing. No, that's right. And this is 1.21 acres. The proposed zoning is Residence 1B District. It's the outline that you see here in red, and that's consistent with the zoning of the adjacent properties.
Is there anyone here to speak regarding the law annexation zoning? Hearing no comment, the public hearing is closed.
Okay, the next item is located on the east side of Old Big Cove Road and south of Miller Lane. It's the hatched area that you see here.
And this is the SACKETT annexation zoning.
Rezone, yeah, annexation zoning. I'm having trouble seeing tonight, bear with me. And here we go. It's, the proposed zoning is Residence 1A District for 3.04 acres, and that is consistent with the other properties that are along the east side of Old Big Cove Road.
Is there anyone here to speak regarding the SACKETT annexation zoning? Hearing no comment, the public hearing is closed. Our next item is Linden Plan Development Amendment.
As this was, we heard the Linden Plan Development Amendment public hearing during the last Planning Commission meeting. It was sent back to Zoning Committee. There was some confusion as far as the hours of entertainment within the licensed premises. So that language was a little confusing. So what we've done is eliminated that language and simply put the phrase, "No entertainment shall be permitted after 11 p.m." under the restaurants that are not within the 500 feet of the Linden boundary. So that just makes it consistent. The restaurants that are within the 500 feet of the Linden boundary and the ones that are not within 500 feet of the Linden boundary. Regardless of the location of the licensed premises, the entertainment shall not be permitted after 11 p.m.
Is there anyone here to speak regarding the Linden Plan Development Amendment? Hearing no comment, the public hearing is closed. And that's all I have on my agenda on public hearings. Okay, public hearings are closed on all of the items except the ones that have been withdrawn and are intentionally left open. Our next item is consideration of the subdivisions, and Kimberly's not here, and oh, Kyle, would you give us the subdivision committee report?
I will. Item number 1, Clarkson Square Apartments, re-subdivision of Lot 2 of the National 3rd Edition, presented for boundary plat, approval of 56 units.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 2, Cross Creek Phase 5, The committee recommends re-layout of 87 lots and preliminary approval of 31 lots with waiver on angle of the side lot line between lots 141 and 142.
Move to approve.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 3, Hampton Ridge Phase 6. The committee recommends layout and preliminary approval of 35 lots with waiver on the non-radial lot lines between lots 31, 32, 32, 33, and 33 and 34.
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Heritage Estates Phase 2, forwarded without a recommendation pending signature approval from Limestone County Water and Utilities and North Alabama Gas Company. Waiver of double front lots 102, 103, 154 through 162. Non-radial lot lines between lots 123 and 124, 163 and 164, 211 and 212.
Did we get the signature approval from Limestone County Water Department? We did, so.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
IREDELL Subdivision Phase 2, re-subdivision of Tract 1 of IREDELL Subdivision Phase 1. The committee recommends preliminary approval of 62 lots.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 6, Legacy Hill Apartments. The committee recommends layout and preliminary approval, 41 units. Also presented for boundary plat approval of 41 units.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Madam Chair, I need to recuse myself from this vote.
Okay, we still have a quorum. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 7, Linden Phase 1 in Jones Valley, presented for final approval on 67 lots.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'm sorry, Madam Chairman, they need to get the bonds on the record for when the bonds are good through, the letters of credit.
Okay.
So it's in order for final with improvement, sidewalk, and landscape
Oh,
by
I'm sorry.
June 20th, 2015.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 8, Meadows at Hampton Cove, Phase 1, re-subdivision of lots 78 through 83. The committee recommends layout and preliminary approval on 6 lots, also presented for final approval on 6 lots.
Is it in order for final approval? Jim?
No.
Oh, it's not? Okay. Then let's have a motion on the first part of your motion, on the first part of the recommendation.
Move to approve on the layout and preliminary lots.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we can have a motion on the final approval. Well, actually, we can't. We can't have a motion on that.
I don't have anything in order.
What?
I don't have anything for it. Do we, Mike? There's no improvements. So, what else? It's in order for final.
Okay, all right.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of final approval on Meadows at Hampton Cove, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 9, McMULLEN Cove, Silo Hill Phase 1. The committee recommends preliminary approval on 22 lots.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I will be recusing on items 10 and 11, and Gary, I'm going to ask you to call those items.
Yes, item 10, McMULLEN Cove, Watson Grand Preserve, Phase 1.
Item 10, the committee recommends relayout and re-preliminary approval on 58 lots with the following waivers. Non-radio lot lines 6 and 7, 7 and 8, 14 and 15, 15 and 16, 17 and 18, 18 and 19, 19 and 20, 21 and 22, 22 and 23, 37 through 48, 52 and 53, 53 and 54, and 54 in the common area, and with the following modifications: street grade along Watson Grand Way as listed between Station 4 and 20 to, am I reading that correctly? 4 and 20? Okay. Station 4 and 20 to 5 and 50 to 15.78%. Station 10 and 00 to 11 and 25 to 14.01%, Station 13 and 85 to 14 and 44 to 16%, Station 17 and 34 to 19 and 17.95 to 15.05%, Station 22 and 88.5 to 26 and 12.5 to 14.17%. Station 26 and 87.5 to 33 and 99.98 to 16%. Did y'all get all that?
There's a test. I will entertain a motion or discussion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Kyle, item 11.
Item number 11, McMullen Cove, Watson Grand Preserve, Phase 2. The committee recommends relayout and re-preliminary approval on 48 lots with a waiver on the non-radial lot lines between lots 4 and 5, 6 and 7, 13 and 14, 15 and 16, 16 and 17, 19 and 20, 20, 21, 22 and 23, 24 through 35, 40 and 41, and 41 and 42.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Item 12, oh, I'm sorry, back to you, Connie.
Item 12, Midtown on the Park, Phase 4. The committee recommends preliminary approval of 24 lots.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 13, Sanctuary Cove, Phase 2, re-subdivision of the replat of Lot 5 of Sanctuary Cove and other lands, presented for final approval on 45 lots.
Is it in order for final approval?
It's in order for final with improvements and sidewalks to be installed May 16th, 2015.
Move to approve. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 14, Strong Commercial Center Phase 3, a minor. The committee recommends layout approval on 2 lots.
Move to approve.
Go ahead.
It's in order for final.
Also presented for final approval on 2 lots.
Okay, and it's in order for final? Yes, okay. Then we need 2 separate motions on that.
So second, I'll second the first motion.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And I need a,
Also presented for final approval on 2 lots.
Move to approve.
any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 15, Watercress Phase 5, re-subdivision of Tract 1 and Common Area B of Watercress Phase 3, and re-subdivision of Common Area A of Watercress Phase 1, presented for final approval on 3 lots.
Is this in order for final approval?
It's in order for final with improvements to be made by June 23rd, 2015.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 16, Cottages at Watercress Apartments, presented for boundary plat approval on 40 units.
Move to approve.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Under petition to remove plat restrictions, Parker Ridge Estates, lots 1, 2, and 3, lift, quote-unquote, area to be left in its natural condition. Over pond that was used as a farm pond for cattle, the committee recommends approval of said petition.
Move to approve.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, Kyle. Item 4 is zoning, and our chairman's not here. And who was here that can? Who was at the zoning committee meeting that can do the zoning committee recommendations? Were you? Okay, would you do that for us, Gary?
Zoning committee met on June 11th. First item is the PINSON annexation, item 1412. The public hearing was held.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The second item is the law annexation zoning, item 1413. The public hearing was held.
Move
To approve. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The third item is the SACKETT annexation zoning, item 1414. The public hearing was held.
Move to approve.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is the Linden Plan Development, item 1209, amendment, major change to the Linden Plan Development, PD-H-LUI 45/50, adds permitted uses within the plan development. The public hearing was held.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair. I just wanted for the record to state that there has been some community input I've received on the generic added uses of hotels, and people were very concerned about the density and number of hotels that if this ordinance amendment passed for the permitted uses, what could ultimately be built out in Linden. So I didn't know if there was any further information of any type that can be presented here for the record and that could be shared with the public outside this meeting.
Lisa, do you have some information?
You did mention that during the last planning commission meeting. I did not receive any comments from the public when we met with some representatives from the Brookdale place. That was not addressed. So I've had nothing from the public to do that, and the developer did not offer any restrictions other than they would be located within the Transect 5.
Which also means that a hotel would be subject to the height restrictions as well.
Yes.
So
That's
it
correct.
wouldn't be
Right.
large, sprawling, 300-room.
Sure.
And was that 5 stories?
It was 4-story, is that right?
4-story. Yeah.
4
That's
stories.
the
Limit.
tallest anything
Right.
can be.
Yeah, that's the
So
maximum height limit.
And it's within 2 transects, is that correct for?
Just one.
Oh, just one, all right.
Transect 5, which
Mhm.
is their commercial core.
Right.
Is that Transect 5 on Carl T. Jones?
Yeah, let me show you. There's actually 2 areas that are Transect 5.
So, northeast corner.
If I can get that a little larger. Here we go. This is Carl T. Jones right here. This is Ledges, Maine. There's a commercial corner right here that's currently zoned neighborhood business C1. This block here is Transect 5. And then here, this is 4 Mile Post Road. This block here is Transect 5. So those are the two locations where you could potentially have a hotel located.
And so the movie theater and the wellness center are
Those
over
are,
on
yeah,
this
those are
side.
much
Yeah.
further east.
They're shown here, okay.
If this is Jones Farm Park,
Mhm.
right here.
Okay. The developer's not here tonight, is he?
No.
No. Okay. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Gary?
The next item is the slaughter rezoning, item 1415. The committee recommends that the planning commission set a public hearing for July 22nd.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The last item is the zoning ordinance amendment, assisted living facilities, amends zoning ordinance Article 3, definitions, and amends Article 15, residence 2B district, Article 20, neighborhood business C1 district, Article 23, general business C3 district, Article 24, highway business C4 district, Article 40, light industry, and Article 41, heavy industry districts. Uses permitted to add assisted living facilities as a permitted use. The committee recommends that the planning commission set a public hearing for July 22nd.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have some discussion, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I'm curious if the planning staff could share, is there a difference in the term assisted living facility and nursing home?
There is an assisted living facility, and we'll have a definition. Actually, I have it here with me tonight. The proposed definition for an assisted living facility is a system of housing and limited care that is designed for those who need some assistance with daily activities but do not require care in a nursing home. And the state does differentiate as far as healthcare facilities between assisted living centers and nursing homes.
And were we just made aware of this difference, or?
No, it's just there's assisted living facilities are fairly new. Nursing homes are not. Nursing homes have been around for many, many years. So when the zoning ordinance was written, nursing homes was a permitted use. The assisted living facilities are fairly new in the world of permitted uses as far as zoning ordinances go. The ones that we have now are mostly in place by variance because they were only addressed in the Medical 2 district. And the Medical 2 district is a fairly new zoning district, so that's why it was included there. So what we're doing now is instead of them having to go get a variance, is to just include them specifically as a permitted use within the zoning ordinance.
In Articles 23 and 24, nursing homes are already allowed. Will that hurt the current nursing homes that are there if new assisted living facilities locate in any of those areas in C3 and C4?
Well, I think you're looking at two different groups of clientele.
My last, next question is Article 41, heavy industry districts. Are there currently any assisted living facilities or nursing homes located in highway industry districts?
And
In the heavy industry district?
I don't know for sure. I don't think that there are.
Not that I'm aware of.
But our heavy industry district is not what you would think of as a typical heavy industry district. Our heavy industry districts are districts that currently run along our older arterials. It's specifically North and South Parkway. They're fairly shallow in depth. They're 100 and 150 feet at the most. And they've mostly been used for retail sales and services over the years.
Okay. Correctional facilities are allowed in heavy industry, so I would be concerned to know if there are any.
apartments are allowed in heavy industry.
Yeah.
Single-family homes on lots platted prior to 1963 are allowed in heavy industry. Heavy industry was written as an early attempt at mixed-use zoning, which is something we're looking at today. But when it was written then, it was written with good intentions, but there were no performance standards. There were no controls. So it turned into just a anything goes district, which is not very wise thing to do. We have performance standards now. So what we're left with mostly is underutilized areas along North and South Parkway, because it's mostly retail sales and services. There are no heavy industry districts. Those are out in our outlying industrial parks. So this is another option for the redevelopment, hopefully, of North and South Parkway. It's another use that could go in those areas.
Okay. And in R2B, are nursing homes allowed there already, or do we know?
But they are.
That concludes my questions.
Okay. Any further questions? Jennifer?
Yes, this came up in the zoning meeting, of course, but I do think that the term heavy industry is highly misleading.
It certainly is.
And while in the situation that it is applied, it does make sense to add assisted living facilities to the existing locations where it is. I think we should highly consider rezoning those areas and other parts of Huntsville where we may be using heavy industry if it does not actually meet the connotation of what one would think when they hear the terms heavy industry.
And
Thank you.
Planning staff wholeheartedly agrees with you. And that'll be part of the comprehensive plan, is to look at these areas that are underutilized, look at ways to redevelop them, and certainly address the terms light and heavy industry, because it is misleading.
Any further questions? All in favor, zoning ordinance amendment, assisted living facilities, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Our next item is invocation and extensions of bonds. Jim, would you tell us what we need to know about that?
Yeah, we recommend items 1 through 19 for invocation.
Move to approve.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. And is there, I would like to just, before we adjourn, I'd just like to take this opportunity to lately introduce our new member, Steve Strickland. Welcome aboard. And, well, we'll forgive you this one time. We're going to dock your salary. Thank you, Steve. We are awfully glad to have you on board, and we were awfully sorry to lose Tony Antonios, as I know you were well acquainted with him too, and we know that you'll do a good job taking his position here. Any further business to come before the board?
I just have one
Yes,
question, and this may or may not be the appropriate place. What is our policy, rules, regulations, recommendations for developers to be here at these meetings? Do we have any? They're not required to be here.
Not that I know of, yeah.
Okay, it's concerning to me when citizens want answers to questions here in a public hearing and forum, and the developer, and I give kudos to Jeff, he's already gone, but the developers are not here, and their agents are not in a position to answer those questions. You're welcome. I didn't know if there was a policy or not, so I'm just asking the question.
I will ask Michael, do we have any?
All engineer records were here.
No, I got that part. They do a fabulous job, but Mr. Smith can't answer the question for the guy who's paying Mr. Smith, I guess is where I'm coming from. And, you know,
He does a pretty good job.
just that, I know we can't force anybody to be here, but maybe we make a strong recommendation to these guys to be here. Because this is this is the citizenry's only opportunity to stand up and say something.
We'll look into that.
That's it.
Any further business? The meeting's adjourned. Thank you all for being here.